So I will be doing my video on the rise and fall of the Jim Crow era. The video states that it symbolized one of the most tragic eras of race relations within, America's history. I think a lot of us could agree with that. I know personally, just speaking for myself, I do. And it said it was rooted in promise and contradiction, which it definitely was, and we'll kind of talk about that as we go along. So in 1861, the South left the Union because they did not want to give up slavery. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. And so, 6 months after that, the South surrendered and Congress ratified the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. And from that, free slaves said they wanted education, the right to vote, and to own land because that's how you would become successful, and that's how they seen a lot of white people become successful, which made sense. But the first thing I thought about when listening to this was how I and a lot of my black friends and family celebrate Juneteenth. I don't know if you have ever heard of it, but we celebrate that because that was the official day when all slaves became free across the South. And that wasn't until 1865 when Lincoln had already made the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. So you can see how, yes, we put this in place, but all slaves were not free until 1865. And that's where Juneteenth, which is the 19th of June, comes about. And so the video goes on to kind of talk about how on Edisto Island, South Carolina, thousands of free blacks were making it happen. They were owning land that had been given up by their former slave owners and were given to them by the Union. And so this was a really cool thing to learn about because I'm from South Carolina and I'm from Beaufort, which we have a lot of history when it comes to past slave land and having a lot of connection to West Africa, but I'm also not far at all from Edisto Beach. And so that's kind of a personal connection that I felt. But the thing was that it was backtracked and taken away. The land was taken away by President Andrew Johnson. The message was delivered by General Howard. And so basically it was like, okay, we gave you this land, but now we're taking it back under this new presidency. So in 1866, Congress passed the 14th and 15th Amendments, giving black people the right to vote and due process of law. So that can make you kind of wonder, okay, these are basic rights. And so these are things they didn't have and had to literally be put in place within our amendments, which I think is pretty sad to think about. And basically people in the white South were scared, not of black people physically, but of the fact that black people were becoming successful, especially and specifically during Reconstruction. And so this is when you really saw a spike in the Ku Klux Klan as well, and a lot of devised and put into law black codes, which basically were ways in which they could still discriminate against black people. And so then Reconstruction ended with President Hayes. And so the video kind of goes on to talk about Booker T. Washington and his educational philosophy and how he really wanted black people to be self-sufficient, but he wanted them to be complacent in their social roles. And he founded Tuskegee College to kind of help with that. It also talks about Lucy Laney, which founded Haynes School in Augusta, Georgia. And so that was really nice to hear about how she was encouraging people to learn about math, science, sociology, philosophy, and things like that. And it showed how influential and impactful black women were. And that really hit home because my mom, grandma, a lot of aunts in my family are teachers, and how much power we hold when we are given the chance to learn and be, and use our skills. And so Jim Crow basically kept going and was even kind of solidified in 1896 with Plessy versus Supreme Court, which said you can basically have separate but equal. And so that made me think about, are we past the Jim Crow era? Because we still have black codes in a lot of ways when it comes to discrimination around hair and appearance, and we just passed the anti-lynching bill. Things like that, and we still have a lot of disenfranchisement of black voters. So I'm not sure if we have really gotten past the Jim Crow era or if we just evolved into a new form of it. So I'll be interested into what y'all think about that.